afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Radio W.O.R.K.S World. I'm Marion, your vision host, and I'm really pleased today because I've got two fabulous women that I'm talking to today, and we've got some really cool information that we want to share with you. We're being spontaneous, so it's not really planned, but I know that what we're going to be sharing with you is going to be really interesting for you, and because it's not planned, it's going to be really interesting for us as well because it's really spontaneous. And Katie's in shock because she didn't even know she was a special guest star on the show today. Yay! So welcome, Katy. So tell us just a little bit about who you are. Oh, she's disappeared. Oh, there she is.
I'm still here. Well, my name's Katy. I'm 40 years old. I'm a mother of 5 little children, and I live in Marrakesh, Morocco.
Wow! Welcome! You are the very first person from Marrakesh to broadcast from Marrakesh. Welcome! Oh my God, this is so exciting. Yes, tell us more. What is your story? What brought you where you are right now?
Well, I've always loved languages. I did languages at university and spent a good few years working and in different countries around the world on my own, doing various different things in Japan and Italy and France and the Philippines. And I came back to England and met my husband, and we got married really quickly and started a family straight away. And basically I had 5 kids in 6 years, which is a bit of a I'm still getting over that, I think. And then I never really felt myself cut out to live in England. I just find it not exciting enough, so I always wanted to move abroad again and give the kids an education, a broad education with languages. And so I came to Morocco on a retreat, fell in love with it, and basically made the decision that that's where I wanted to live. And from there it took about 18 months to get everything in order, but we've been here 2 years now.
Wow.
And I've got to say, the place that they're living in, you're still in the same house, Katy, when I came to visit, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the house is
Marion's been out.
Spectacular. It's like a little palace. It's beautiful. And it's just outside the city, so you're only a few minutes from Marrakesh. But when you're out there, it's kind of farmland, and it's in the foothills of is it the Atlas Mountains?
The Atlas Mountains, yeah.
Yeah. In the foothills of the mountains, so you could see all the snow on the tops of the mountains, and then in the heat of
so we've got a
Go on.
Wow, Katy. So tell us more. What is your favorite food there? Because you see, we are having this. Marion knows I'm a little bit crazy about going around the world. So on the 2nd of October, we are going to launch this book, Away from Home. 80 days around the world. So it's after Jules Verne's itinerary. So we are going to travel. That book is going to travel in all over the world and come back to London after 80 days.
Wow.
And so the day the book leaves London, we are going to have the Radio W.O.R.K.S award ceremony. So you are all invited, and Marion has been nominated, so now we are counting the votes, and we are very, very excited.
Vote for me.
Yes, but the reason I'm asking, Katy, is because you know, this book is a directory of all the authors we know around the world, and there are about 100 countries, and all the international hosts of broadcasting around the world from another. At the moment, there are just 26 countries, but we are hoping by the end of September there will be people from broadcasting from 100 different countries. I'm so excited I can't even speak or think. And what's happening, we created this directory. Instead of putting a link or something boring, we decided to, each one of us will list their favorite recipe. So what makes you smart, Katy? What is your favorite food?
I think she might have gone to sort out a doggy problem.
So what is yours, Marion?
My favourite food here in Marrakesh?
Yes, yes.
Go, Katie.
Hang on a sec. I'm having connectivity issues, so I'm just trying to.
So what's your favourite place in Marrakesh? What do you like best about the Morocco?
Okay, I like, well, the tagines are incredible.
Wow.
Lots of fresh produce. You can grow anything here. It's really fertile land, so we've got lots of tomatoes, peppers, all sorts of fresh vegetables.
Okay, so would you send us the recipe, and we can list it in our directory.
And just the fact that they always blend.
Did you hear that? Can you send Marina your favourite recipe so she can put it in her book?
So can you repeat that? No.
Yes.
What does she?
Yes. Okay. So what is exciting is happening right now, Katy? Apart from the 5 beautiful princes and princesses and the dog and going to the mountains, and what else is exciting in your life right now? What's happening?
Sorry, could you, Marion? I'm getting some interference. Can you just say what she just said?
Yeah, sure. So well, there were 2 questions. The first question is about your favourite recipe. Can you send us a copy of your favourite recipe? And the second question was, what's exciting about your life at the moment? What are you enjoying about life at the moment with the dog and the kids and the amazing life in Morocco?
Yeah, I can certainly send you recipes, no problem. I will do that. My life here.
Your favourites?
What I.
Just
yeah,
one.
okay, we'll do.
Your favourite.
My favourite recipe, yeah. What I like about my life here is that it's very bizarre. There's always weird things happening. It's very different to England, to suburbia in England. It's full of weird, crazy people. I'm really enjoying studying Arabic and trying to get into the mindset of the people around here. Tomorrow Ramadan starts, so that whole place takes on a completely different vibe again, and becomes an incredibly spiritual place for a while. And just the crazy characters that are around here. You're never in your comfort zone here, and I like that.
Very good.
So Katy, what is the word for heart in Arabic? What is the word for heart? Yes, please.
Hot as in hot weather?
No, heart.
Oh, heart. Oh, qalb.
Qalb. And mind?
Qalb.
Yes.
Mind?
Yes.
Rasi.
Wow.
Rasi. Yeah.
Qalba and Rasi.
Mm-hmm.
They have very different energy, don't they? The 2 different words. Qalba is very.
Rasi is my mind. So qalbi, Rasi, my heart, my mind.
Okay.
Qalb, Ras, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Fabulous. The thing that you brought to my attention this week, Marina, was the death of Muhammad Ali, and what an amazing character he was. And so just the idea that there's this thing that he lived everything he wanted to, he did what he wanted to do in his life, and he didn't care what other people thought about him, and he totally put his heart into everything. That actually reminds me of you, Katy, because that's the feeling that I get about you. You knew as soon as you know what you want to do, you make it happen. And you don't worry what's in the way. You create as clear a pathway as you can to really make sure what you want is absolutely what happens when you know it. So it's like your mind is one of the things that you use wisely when your heart is in a place of knowing. So it's really lovely that just before you joined us, Marina and I were talking about Muhammad Ali, and you are one of the women who I know who has that same energy about you, of just when you know something, when something becomes your truth, there's no stopping you. And I admire that about you a lot. Oh, nice. So, Marina, we were talking about that lovely quote that Muhammad Ali had.
Yes, yes, and I wonder if what Katy thinks about it. He said that I know where I'm going, and I know the truth, and I don't have to be what you want me to be. I'm free to be what I want.
That's it.
Is that you, Katy?
Oh no, Morocco, we've lost Morocco. It definitely reminds me of the end. That's the Katy that I know. She definitely falls into all of those categories. And you too, Marina. For me, you're one of the women who also has this same energy about you, that when your heart and your mind become aligned, that there's just no stopping you. And nothing will get in your way because your energy is so focused on moving in that direction, in that alignment, that actually it's almost like the universe, it's conspiring, isn't it, to help us to keep flowing in the direction when we do have this alignment with the heart and the mind.
And you see, Marion, most people talk about aligning their values with their beliefs and their actions, but they forget the most important element, their emotions.
Yes.
And then they feel like failure, or they feel they don't live their own life, or they feel that in essence is nothing to do with them, simply because they left the emotions out of the equation. And you know that journey, the 18 inches journey from your mind to your heart that you're talking about, that is the longest journey you'll ever going to take.
Absolutely.
And I think the real challenge is that most people, I mean, I can talk about myself. Before I met you and before we started this journey, I was living in a race. I was racing through life.
Yeah.
I didn't know what life is. I was racing, and I didn't even know I could connect my mind with my heart. My mind was always focusing on what I had to deliver, what I was expected to deliver. And I never had, as I call it, a mind of my own.
Yes.
So being conditioned and being focused on what you are expected to deliver doesn't allow you to deliver yourself.
And that's the beauty of that quote, isn't it? Because that's how he ends it, that he doesn't care what other people think. He knows who he is, and that's all he has to know. So the beauty of that quote is that it gives us that understanding that the conditioning is not part of that experience.
This is my very point, and I was talking with somebody absolutely amazing, Sharon from South Africa, and she was telling me about her own journey, her own discoveries, and I could not agree with her more. You know, every single word she said is something I felt already. But in essence, we're talking about your energy, the fact that you already have everything. It's not only that you have it all, you are a spiritual being, and you have no reason to wait on anyone, or because the world is waiting on you.
Yes.
And I don't know, I've been a couple of times invited to speak at the church, different parts of the world, and each time they got upset with me, because I was looking at them, they were keep praying, and they were saying one God or the other, and God is going to give me this, and I'm thinking, are you kidding me? God already gave you everything. You are part of Him. He delivered you. Now you have to deliver yourself. So you see that stagnation, which comes with the fact that you are waiting for permission, you are waiting for somebody's approval, or you are waiting for somebody's you are trying so hard because you want to be accepted, or some sort of validation from somebody else, and it's nothing to do with anyone else.
Absolutely.
And all that energy could really go through a better use. All that energy could really go towards delivering your own abundance, delivering yourself, because you are created already. It's not as if you have to create yourself. If necessary, you have to reinvent yourself on your own terms. But the point is that you don't need approval from anyone. You don't need to ask permission from anyone. And with that, we eliminate all the excuses we could experience, each one of us. Each time you are in front of yourself, you look at yourself, you don't look through the window, you are not looking for something outside you, thinking, oh, I have to chase that. You have to look inside this time, and you become the window for other people. So
Absolutely.
looking inside and getting your
what's really important about what you're saying, Marina, is that we don't have the understanding or the knowledge of how to work on our internal stuff and to be internally focused, because society, education, all of the authoritarian structures that we were brought into when we were born and have shaped and molded the personality that we have by the time we become an adult. It's all about seeking permission or seeking approval or a fight for different levels of power. But that's just this external construct. And the real spiritual awakening happens when we start to understand that we don't have to look outside. And then there's that beautiful understanding from quantum physics about infinite potential. So until the observer looks at something, the something is in a million places all at the same time, has the potential to become anything. But so it's a wave when it's in intimate potentialities, or it becomes a solid particle, a thing, when we look at it, when the observer looks at it. So from a perspective of quantum physics, which is very complicated, and I've tried to simplify it, I hope I haven't made it sound even more complicated. I have a tendency to do that sometimes. But in its simplest terms, it means that the reality of the present moment is just a crystallization of one point in time and space. But at the same moment, there is still an infinite number of times and spaces and possibilities around us. And we are one of those points of infinite potentiality. We've got everything and anything at our fingertips. If we realize that we are in control, if we realize that we are the authority, when we realize that we should be the focus of our own attention. And you're quite right, the people who do that then go on to be brilliant role models. And I'm really pleased Katy came back just then, because this was a conversation I remember having with Katy just before I left about sovereignty. So I don't know how much of that you heard, Katy, but Katy's book Katy's book is going to be about sovereignty. So we were just sharing, Katy, how people look outside for permission and they look outside for approval, but actually it's internally where we focus when we realize we're spiritual, we're autonomous, we're in control of ourselves, and we have everything we could ever need right now if only we can open up enough to see and step out of the conditioning and step out of the authority and step out of all of the structures and constructs that make us feel like we have to go outside for permission. So just tell us a little bit about your
so that reflects in education, in health, in relationships, in politics, in where you want to live in the world, the societal norms that you grow up in, and it's really, really important that in all of those areas you hang on to that. I always think of it as it's like there's a whirlwind going on around you, you know, a big tornado, and there's one stake in the ground. And that stake is your own inner core, your wisdom. And you've got to hold on to that, even though you might be blown this way and that. If you can just hold on to that stake and trust in it, and not let anybody try and knock you down, make you feel insecure, be mean to you, boss you around, then I think you're onto a winner. Because it's all we've got at the end of the day is that stake.
Absolutely. And through that stake, through holding on to that stake, I've begun to realize that when I feel like I've been knocked down, it's I'm down. It's not somebody did the knocking. it was me that fell. So it's about taking responsibility for me, so that I don't even think of it in blame terms anymore. And although those ideas come to mind because they're old ideas and they're habits and they're ways of thinking and they're the ways that many people speak, so it's difficult to step out of that programming. But once you start to realize that if you blame anything on the outside for where you are right now, that means that they've got control, that you've given them power.
But I think it's the other way around. I think whatever is that you think knocked you down, whatever it is I think happened to you, is happening for you.
Yes. Yes, so that you can become aware that you're down and you need to get up.
Because you see, life is not about being on top of the mountain. It's not about chasing happiness. It's not none of the things we might feel we can't achieve. I think life is about picking yourself up,
yes.
Going to the next level.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And so actually the person who may have knocked me down is my teacher, and I should be grateful for the fact that they've shown me something that I can then come back into me and make something else for myself, make my reality more serve me better.
Because unless you choose the situation that serves you better, unless you create circumstances that serve you better, you can't serve the world. So ultimately, it's not about you. It's all about your mission to serve the world. So whatever happened so far, it's purely, I'm so grateful for all the knocks, for everything, because I got to grow into the person I need to be to serve the world better.
Yes. But it's through serving yourself that you can serve the world better. So definitely. I think sometimes we get caught in this idea of serving the world is the purpose.
No. Actually, growing the purpose, I think, is growing to the person you have to be.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
I totally agree with you.
That's where we get lost, isn't it? Because we get lost in this authority coming into us, and then our service going out, and that. They are just things that happen, and that's what you were saying, Katy, wasn't it? The stake that we hold on to, the self that we hold on to, that's where we grow, isn't it, Marina? I think that's where, and I know that at the moment it seems to be the topic of conversation with everybody that I'm connected to. I think I'm very fortunate that I've not been having to spend time with people who are not in a more awakened state or conscious state. I've chosen a few career paths that I'm following that are full of people who are waking up, becoming more aware of themselves, their own consciousness, their internal motivations, their internal responsibilities, and absolutely the need to pick yourself up and not deny the rubbish and not feel that the darkness is a problem, but understand it's fertilizer for us to grow out of, isn't it?
So if you think of Ali, he refused to go to war against Vietnam. He refused to kill people. He refused to and he paid the price. So his license was revoked. His passion fighting wasn't possible anymore for years. And I think to me that shows how much you believe in what you believe. And why would you be given the freedom to make choices unless you can manifest that freedom, unless you could say to yourself, enough is enough, I don't care, I'm going to get there on a horseback. If I have to lose whatever I have to lose, is worth it, because this is what I believe. I'm the sovereign of my own life.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and isn't it amazing that, like, what Muhammad Ali did basically was he said, I want to beat people up, I want to box, I want to hit people and hurt people, but I'm not going to kill anyone. I draw the line at killing. So they said, okay, you don't want to kill anyone, then you can't even hit them. It's just, it was so. It's such a, I don't know, it's such a crazy world that we live in, that unless he's prepared to actually kill people, he couldn't do what his heart was wanting to do, which was nowhere near as bad as killing people. and yet he was blocked from that. One of the stories I remember from boxing as well, for me, boxing as a child, I hated it. My father used to love it, and he would make us watch the television, and we'd get scolded for not having our eye, because I used to close my eyes, and he'd hit me so that I would open my eyes and watch the television and watch the boxing, and I absolutely hated it. It used to make me feel sick. So I'd do things like I would focus on the end of my nose, or I would have my eyes open but allow myself to do like daydreaming. And even that is a great teacher, because actually these are all meditation devices that I know about now from my yoga teaching, that looking at the tip of your nose is actually a really powerful meditation practice. Being able to meditate with your eyes open is a really powerful meditation process. So at the time I was being punished, and I was being forced as a child. I was forced to do this by my father, but I found these techniques just from my own imagination that are actually now part of what I teach other people, because they're really powerful techniques for helping to hold your own attention inside.
Wow. Katy, can you unmute yourself, Katy? Can you unmute yourself, Katy?
Can you take your mute off? You're muted, Katy. We can't hear you.
At the top of your screen, you just need to click on the mic.
We can see your lips moving and there's no noise.
At the very top of the screen, Katy, there is an icon for the mic. You just need
Technology is amazing when it works, isn't it? Oh. But yeah, seeing this, remembering this thing, it was only this week that, Marina, that I actually realised that those techniques were something that I'd started to do in childhood as a result of being forced to watch the boxing. And so, you know, for me, that was like a really deep, deep insight into the power of using what we used to see as a problem or a bad memory, and the power of how that can be a jewel, a diamond in my life today. So turning those negative situations.
Right, I'm back. I managed to turn my microphone on.
Right, so good. Share with us what you wanted to share.
I don't. That's just absolutely a horrific story, actually, Marion. It's trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad was submitting you, a sensitive child, to a traumatic thing, and but instead of subsuming to it, you found a coping mechanism, which obviously carried through your life. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm. And I find that even though the trauma is where I began my personal development journey, a recognition of how much trauma there was, and an admission of how much trauma there was, to be able to continue and progress on my personal journey, it's been absolutely necessary to identify the beauty of all of the trauma, the juiciness of the trauma that's given me skills and coping strategies that are brilliant techniques or tools or ways of being that I actually wouldn't have if I hadn't had the trauma. So the trauma is a blessing. And to be able to turn life around and start to see what we used to think of as the bad stuff, the darkness or the shadow or all of that stuff, to be able to start to turn that round and see how it was my teacher and the beauty of what I now have as a result of it has been a huge turning point for me. And it helps me to connect into this idea of forgiveness as well, because there is nothing to forgive. So a part of me is programmed to think that what he did was unforgivable. A part of me is programmed to think that what he did was horrendous and traumatic and has really screwed me up. But then a higher perspective on all of that is I wouldn't have known about the power of an eyes open meditation. I wouldn't have even remembered the looking at the end of your nose meditation. And I wouldn't have developed the skills to contain my attention within if I hadn't gone through that trauma. So it's like I had to go through that to get the skills that I've got now, or my life would not be as rich as it is. So the value of the trauma is enormous when you realize what you've learned as a result of it. And that's a really big part of the work that I do with clients as well, is once you've cleared the shock of the trauma and you've cleared the stuck emotions and the stuck processing, the next step is to start to find the gems that are a result of that trauma. What's the beauty of it? Because once you find that, then forgiveness happens automatically, healing happens automatically, you can breathe again, you can see the world with a completely different perspective. And that's where really deep healing can begin, when we see that this trauma was necessary and it was really special and important to give me the life skills that I really love that I have from that today. Very powerful. So, Katy, tell us a little bit about sovereignty, because, oh, she's gone again. She might be still hearing me. Katy told me her book idea, Marina. Katy told me she wants to write a book about sovereignty, because part of her experience of moving to Morocco has been to gain a greater understanding of what sovereignty actually means.
Hello?
Are you there still, Katy? Can you hear us? I can hear the peacock. I can hear the peacocks in the background. Katy's got a menagerie in her home. So, Marina, are you still online?
Yes, I
am. Am I
am.
hosting online? You are. So, what have you? So your understanding, I know, because you're on such a similar journey to me, and I know that your understanding also of the dark tunnel and the traumas in life, of what you've absolutely needed to get where you are today. What is it that you've gained that you would have previously called, you know, a trauma, or something that was at the time felt unforgivable? Where does that take you?
You see, people talk about times in their childhood when something was so terrible, and actually I had a wonderful childhood. I had a brilliant childhood. I had the best time, and I wish I could recreate that for my children.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, being a migrant woman like Katy is now, it was trying to understand what is in other people's mind, but I had to provide a living at the same time. So it was almost like juggling with too many plates at the same time.
Wow.
So I will leave in the morning, I'll come just before midnight, and my children will leave me a note. They will cook for me. They will leave the plate on the table and say, make sure you eat. Don't go to bed before you eat.
Oh.
So you see, for me, it's been always that drive to create for my children the beautiful childhood I had.
Yeah.
And deliver for them the beautiful life I had. And that was impossible. Mm-hmm. And that made me work really hard. That made me not having even a weekend, let alone holidays. I never had a holiday. So that made me being constantly ticking the box. You know, I will make a list in the evening, and maybe I won't have the answer, but I'll go to bed and I'll wake up in the morning and I will know the answer. And I will tick all these boxes, the to-do list. So because I was focusing on the to-do list, it was virtually impossible to think of the to-be list. And that was my biggest challenge.
Yeah.
So you see how in life is not necessarily somebody else's fault. It was my own desire to give at least what I had in my childhood to my own children.
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily traumatic. it was no future in the country where they're born. I remember I was with my youngest son, because you know how in this country you can't leave them by themselves before they're 10 or something. So I was taking him with me everywhere. We'll go on a bicycle, we'll go in a park, so we spent a lot of time together. And I remember when we just arrived back in my country, I had a driver, we had a very good life. So now we're waiting for the bus. It was dark because it was getting dark a lot sooner. It was the end of the year, November, I think, and it was raining and it was cold and it was windy, and I felt so bad for my child, for my son, and I said to him, I'm so sorry. I'm really so sorry. I don't know what to say. I know the bus is going to come eventually because we've been waiting for 40 minutes or an hour, and it was really in the middle of the nowhere, and I was a bit not sure what the hell I was doing there. Anyway, and my son says, don't worry, mommy. Don't worry. Your only chance was to choose the country you are in, and you done that.
Oh. And
he said, it's not your fault. The only fault is that we've been born in the wrong country. so you see, no matter how much I wanted to offer them something that was really beautiful, something that I treasure, my childhood, I couldn't. And it wasn't up to me. I done my very best. But what else I could have done? I mean, I will do the same thing all over again. I will leave everything behind and take them to a better place because I love them more than my own life.
Yeah.
So that was the trauma for me. The trauma was not being able to trade the to-do list for the to-be list.
And also, don't you see that also when we have this desire for life to be not how it is, then that's kind of the definition of a problem, isn't it? Problems don't exist. What exists is resistance to what is. And so when life isn't giving us what we want, so you wanted your children to have a life that you had, but actually that wasn't possible. And so that created for you a situation where you were apologizing to your children and you were working until midnight and life was really hard work for you. But actually, the fact that your children were so supportive and able to take care of you because you were so determined to take care of them, it was like a mutual agreement that everybody really had to take care of everybody really well. That has been, I'm sure that's been a real blessing for your children. And it's probably given them skills and talents.
It's true. It's true. And you just reminded me because we used to sign our Christmas cards or birthday cards for somebody else, like 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 = 1. So we won't sign with our names, we'll just sign 1 + 1 +. So it was something we carried over decades, and we still have it in our heart. I'm old-fashioned. I still write, cards and postcards, but everybody else doesn't. And to me, it's always going to be that, no matter what, no matter where each one of us is at some given point in time, it's always going to be that, because each one of us is one, but together we are one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think if your children had the upbringing that you had, they wouldn't have some of the skills that they have today that make them into such beautiful people. They may even have been spoiled brats, Marina. You may have spoiled them.
I know. And you are so spot on with this, because that's exactly what it is. And that's a fact. It's a fact of life. And even I try that there is a divine plan. So even I try so hard to protect them, and I done the opposite eventually, but that was for their own benefit.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It always works out perfectly in the end.
It's true.
Always, always. Wow. Wow, amazing. I love these conversations with you, Marina. They're always so inspiring, and it's like whenever we speak, it's like you have to reach a little deeper, don't you, to
Yes.
understand, and then ideas arise and arrive that you've not even noticed, or you hadn't seen the connection before, or there's something about how the whole conversation grows and manifests. It's very organic, but always very expanding as well. It's always very expansive, and I love it. I love talking to you, Marina.
Likewise. And you mentioned before in previous episodes that each one of us, so let's say there are 10,000 people, there are 10,000 different truths. So each person have the right to develop their own truth. So this is exactly what we are doing by going back, by creating your vision, by understanding your why. Like Cheryl so many times said it, and yourself.
Yes.
It is this one chance in a lifetime you have to basically embrace your truth, the bad, the ugly, whatever it is, that's your truth.
Yes.
And doesn't necessarily means you've done something wrong, doesn't necessarily mean you've done something good. It's nothing to do with that. It's no wrong or right. It's basically admitting your powers and your spirituality and your beauty, because there is so much inner beauty. And the word I want to say, and for our listeners could be a little bit too much, but I'm going to say it anyway. It is about your truth, finding your truth, embracing your truth. Basically means unleashing your aura, your inner aura, because you have to take responsibility for that. It's not something you want to prove. It's not something you want to discover. It's not something you are chasing. It is simply embracing who you are with everything.
Absolutely. Also, I think it's important to know, so for people who do get a bit irked by this, a bit bothered by this, because I know this used to happen to me when I listened to really great teachers who were very aware, very conscious. It's almost like I would start to blame myself for not understanding more, for when I did blame someone for something, and then I'd feel bad because they'd say, oh no, take responsibility for stuff. Everything that happens to you happens for a reason. And one of the things I used to think was, well, my dad used to beat me up when I was a kid. He used to beat all of us up. How could that possibly be for a good reason? But as we've talked about today, the past is way, way in the past. And if every time I remember those memories, every time I do that, I am recreating my current moment. But remembering is not because it's written down as truth in stone. Remembering is just the way my mind is choosing right now to connect to that information. And it's always different. Every time I remember the same memory, I'm creating a neurology right now. I'm creating a mindset right now about that past experience, and it becomes my present day experience. So by growing an understanding of the past trauma is now a lesson and a jewel to me. When I first started to say that, I didn't believe it. I knew it was true, but my head did not believe it. And it felt like my body didn't believe it, because I was still used to remembering it as a trauma. I was still used to remembering the pain and labeling it bad. Wow. And now I can, even if I remember the pain, I don't have to label it bad anymore. But it took me a long time to get to this point. This isn't something that happened overnight. This is something that it's taken me years of really deep work and deep clearing of the old patterns and the old habits before I can start. And even now, there are still parts of me that tune into the pain of the beating or the trauma and don't like it. So I'm still growing and I'm still progressing, and it's okay if I make mistakes, and because that's how I learn. There's actually no thing such as a mistake. There's either winning or learning, or achieving or learning. So
I so love this. You know, a couple of years ago, I started saying this and talking to my clients about it, and say, what do you mean? So you are not winning, you are losing? I said, no, there are only two options. It's either you are winning or learning, and then you learn till you win. You win your own limitations, because it's never going to be somebody from outside who is going to come to you and say, Marion, this is the recipe. This is how you are going to master the art of being human.
Yeah.
It's no such thing. And besides that, I think what I really what I am really grateful for, all the lessons.
Yeah.
All the sandpaper people, you know, the one that rubs at the way, and just because I learned to turn resistance into a victory. I learned I experience the beauty of small victories.
Yeah.
And instead of thinking, oh, that goal is too far away, I realized that if I take a step right now and make that decision to take the step because I want it, this is what gives me the most amazing feeling inside.
Yes.
The courage that I could go into the unknown, into uncertainty, and feel so certain that I'm doing the right thing. It's an amazing feeling when you, even if it's a mistake, it's not a mistake, it's a mistake of the actual moment, but discovering, channeling your energy towards what's next, you know, is what makes you kicking and being excited and being alive.
And that's what's so important about knowing your why and knowing your purpose. But also, it's important to remember that they may change in every moment. It's possible for them to change. Your why and your purpose, they can adapt and grow and change. They're dynamic things. But when you are clear of your intention, when you absolutely have a clear intention to move in the best possible direction for you, and you feel it in your being, don't you? Your being feels lighter, your heart feels more open, your body feels more relaxed, there's less tension, there's less heaviness about, because that's where truth is. Truth is in light, not in the light that's coming in through the window, but the truth is in the lightness of being. So when I speak something that's true for me today and is in alignment with my why and my purpose and my intention, I know it in every cell of my body. Even when there are thoughts that are going, that's not right, that's not true, that's not right, that's not true, my body knows a much deeper truth than the conditioning in my mind. And learning how to tune into that body felt sense of knowledge and the superior intelligence and intuition in the body, when we've learned how to reconnect into that, and we can start to disconnect from all the thoughts and the conditioning and the programming, that's where we've got this state of absolute knowing. This is my truth right now. This is the right next step for me to take. And it doesn't matter what's happening on the outside. It's like I am unshakable. It's like that.
Absolutely. I love that. You see, so maybe now is a time for our listeners who tune in later or miss some of of your shows. So when we are saying that why is none of your business what other people think of you, what we are actually saying is that you are so unshakable in your own truth that nothing, absolutely nothing, can change that. Nobody can influence you anymore. Nobody can make you take a left when you want to go right, because this is when the crashes are happening. You know, you are telling your mind, you know, in your heart of hearts that you have to go right, and then somebody's telling you go left, and because you are not certain, of course what's going to happen is going to crash. You are going to crash because somebody else is going to be coming into you and crash into you. So all that divine plan that we're talking originally is to do with your belief that this is your truth. To do with what Muhammad Ali was saying, I know where I'm going, and I know the truth.
Yes.
And I don't have to be what you want me to be. I'm free to be what I want.
Yes, beautiful.
Wow. We had a great privilege today to have Katy talking to us all the way from Marrakesh, and from the three of us across the world to each one of you, our listeners. Until next time, know your truth.
Absolutely.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you, Marina.